Alright guys, two new knives to show you. These are Columbia River knife and tool models. They're both the model Lake 111. I have two different versions here. This is the original version and this is a newer version in Zytel, which I'll go over, of course, all the specifications as the video goes on. But the reason this box is a little bit bigger is the newer Zytel versions come with a denim sheath, which I'll show you in just a minute. But like I said, these are the Lake Model 111s, and these were designed by Ron Lake, which is a knife legend. If you don't know who he is, I suggest you look him up. Definitely has his place in the knife world, and a lot of innovation from him, including this new lock system on these models, the LBS safety, which I'll go over a little bit later in the video. So let me break these out and show you them. This first one here, like I said, this is the original version, or the first version of the Lake 111, and here's the LBS safety right there. Of course, I'll go over that in just a minute. But this version here is actually in aluminum and brass. And you can see that brass coloration in the liners. And kind of unusual to have this modern, style folder with brass, especially brass and aluminum. So pretty unique. But that's the original version. And by the way, let me show you these. These knives do come with a supplied key that works your pivot screw. Here's that key right there. Pivot screw has 4 little slots, and the key has 2 prongs. So you can use those 2 prongs to go in either set of those slots, okay, so you can adjust your pivot, okay, instead of using a Torx bit or some kind of screwdriver or something wacky. You have your key already supplied here. It's good to have something like this. It's kind of tamper-proof, so you can't really mess with it, but you do have the key, so it's convenience for you to adjust it as the knife's owner. So pretty interesting, but that does come with the knives. So this is the older version, as I said, aluminum and brass. And the newer version, by the way, this older one is the model 7255 from Columbia CRKT, or Columbia River Knife and Tool. And the newer version here, you see there's that denim sheath, very nice denim with leather. And you got the embossed logo, CRKT. Really nice quality. If you like denim, it's a really nice sheath. The inside has kind of a nylon backing here. It's nice and smooth in and out. There's not much friction at all. It's easy to get in and out of the sheath. And it's definitely, like I said, just unique. Columbia River Knife and Tool is kind of known for their versatility and all their unique styles and different locking mechanisms and all kinds of stuff. And this just extends into their sheath systems. This is denim and leather. You don't see that too often. A lot of guys are stuck with nylon for most models. So kind of cool. Again, just something different. So here's that newer version in Zytel. Okay, this has a Zytel handle scales and stainless steel liners, as opposed to the older one, which again was aluminum scales and brass liners. So besides that, there's a kind of minute differences I'll go over throughout the video, but besides the major, materials used in the handles, everything else is pretty much the same. And they're both the full-size version of the Lake, and these are both in plain edge. Now, first let me go over some specs real quick. Now the specifications for size and all that are going to be identical between both knives. Both knives have the same size and everything else. The only difference, again, is going to be the handle materials. The blades are exactly the same. The only difference really is that the older ones have just a slight heavier polish on them. Might be hard to see that, but this one's just a little bit more polished. This newer one's more of a satin finish, in my opinion. You kind of pick up on that a little bit. It's hard to see. You have to kind of see it in person. But besides that, everything else is pretty much identical. Both blades are an 8 CR14 MOV. Both of these are lockback knives. Okay, so you use a lockback mechanism, but they have what's called the LBS safety. And basically what that is you have a little switch here, which actually locks the lockback. So if a lockback wasn't strong enough for you already, you can actually lock that from moving, which I'll show you in a little bit how that actually works internally here. But that's what that is. And both knives do have that. So let's go over some measurements real quick. Both knives, again, are going to be exactly the same on size and everything. The size is it's 4.12 inches when it's closed, as you see here. When they're both open, they're 7.25 inches long. Okay, both blades are 3.12 inches in length, and again, they're both an 8 CR14 MOV. And I've talked to the steel in the past before. See, there's the Lake 111 logo and their patent number. Again, Columbia River Knife and Tool is so innovative in their stuff. Most of their knives have patent numbers on there because, you know, they're constantly getting new patents for different stuff. And wipe off those fingerprints a little bit. But I would classify these as medium knives, maybe large for some people. Again, the blade is just a hair over 3 inches long. I wouldn't really consider them large. I mean, you can see I've kind of average to large size hands, and I get a decent grip on it, but I don't get a full grip. You see my pinky's kind of hanging a little bit. So I would probably say these are more medium sized knives. But again, it will depend, I guess, on your hand size. I just wipe the fingerprints off this other one here. Now, I don't want to confuse these again because they are very similar. The bottom one is the original version with the aluminum and brass. Top one is the Zytel and stainless steel. Both of these knives are actually, they're pretty close in weight. You would think that the aluminum and brass would be a lot heavier, but it's pretty close. Again, aluminum brass is on your left here, and the newer Zytel and stainless is on your right. The aluminum and brass is 3.7 ounces, okay, versus 2.8 ounces. So it's not, a whole lot. It's 0.9 ounces difference. I mean, that might make a difference to some people. Weight's never been a huge factor for me. It's just preference here. I mean, both knives perform identical. They're the same, like I said, same blade steel, same blade shape and style and everything. The grinds are slightly different. That's just because, I guess, they have to reset their machines in the future to do the cuts and stuff. What I mean by that is if you look closely, I'll use this knife as a kind of a pointer. Notice that the grind here, okay, where you have your spine or your blade stock, and then right here it actually starts to grind down. Okay, you can see, just notice how wide that is, okay, and where it kind of starts. And you can see how much it progresses, towards the tip there, compared to the newer version on top. Is a little bit of a higher grind. Try to get the light to hit these both at the same time. You see a good comparison there. The top one actually has a higher grind, which is going to be a little bit more effective in cutting. So it's actually an improvement. I never found the first one to be a problem with cutting. I mean, it cuts just fine. But some people are real particular with they like a real high grind on their folding knives. If not a full flat ground blade, they like them nice and high. What I kind of mean by that, hopefully I'm not confusing you too much, but here's the newer version. You can see there's not as much, I guess you would call it a shelf, okay, where it's you actually have just the flat metal here before it starts grinding down to your edge, if that makes any sense. Okay, on top one you can see it's a lot wider. It progresses longer towards the tip here, and the bottom one's a lot shorter. Okay, and it only goes to a little bit over halfway up towards the tip. So there is a difference there in the grinds, but besides that, blade shape is the same, kind of a modified drop point there. Good utility knives. There's a little bit more belly in the original one. If you can kind of see the difference. Again, very minute. Another thing that's changed, very minor difference. I'll go over, there's a lot of little things, Generally they're the same knife. Like I said, materials are different, but there's a lot of little tiny details that some might not even recognize. But another thing, while I'm here, I'll kind of go over them. You can see the older version is in my right hand. That has kind of a larger choil on the bottom of the blade there. Slight difference. Thumb studs are almost the same. You can see the older version, they're a little bit flatter. On the left is the newer version, and that has more of a pyramid style on the end of the thumb stud. I'll get in close to show you this. It's going to be hard to pick up detail. You can see how that extends more. You have kind of 3 tiers. It's more of a pyramid shape. Let me show you the older version here is flatter. It doesn't go out as much. As far as function, how they feel, let me open them up again right here on camera and tell you. It doesn't really, I don't really think it changes much on how it feels. Yeah, this is the newer version with that more extended pyramid type. It feels a little bit pointier. I don't think it's any better or worse. It's just a little bit different, but I don't think it's a pro or a con. It's just different. That's all. But these are kind of unique. You see those thumb studs are actually pressed into a cutout in the blade. They're not really like in the middle of the blade. They're not going through the blade itself. Like I said, there's kind of a half moon cutout, and these are, I guess, pressure fitted into the back. Again, just a real unique styling here. And again, this is a Ron Lake design. If you don't know who he is, check him out. Definitely famous in the knife world. A lot of guys who've been around knives for a long time know about Ron's work and what he's done for the knife community. But these are really nice knives, and as I said, you know, Ron with this new LBS safety, it's almost overkill. I mean, a lockback in general is a very strong design if executed properly. Very good lockup on these. There's no blade play at all. Both of these lock up really solid. There's no play at all anyway, any direction, up and down, left and right. They just lock up nice. But like I said, if that wasn't enough, you can actually lock the lock. It's kind of like, you know, Columbia River Knife and Tool has their auto lock system on their M16 line, as well as other varieties of that style knife. And it's just the whole concept that, you know, if the lock wasn't already enough, let's make it even stronger. How can we do that? And you can do that by locking the lock. Let me show you. This is the older version with the brass. Let me kind of get in close and show you how this works here. You basically have a little lever on top. Okay, that's what's actually you're moving over. And what that lever is doing, if you don't know how regular lockback works, basically you have a bar here that pivots. Okay, when you push this, you can see on the top part here, look closely on the spine, it pivots upwards. Okay, and what that does is there's a little notch, and the notch fits into the back of the spine of the blade. Okay, keeps it from moving. When you lift that notch up, it clears the way, then you can, of course, move the blade freely. What this is doing when this is first locked open, when you push this lever up, you're actually preventing this from being pushed in, which is not going to let the blade be freed. Okay, so for some reason, I mean, I can't see this accidentally opening up even with a strong grip. It would be almost impossible, but I don't know. Let's say you're holding a knife like this for some reason. No idea why you'd be doing that, but even then, you could not unlock the blade. Okay, it's a secondary lock. Just really makes a secure knife. Obviously, more peace of mind that it's not going to fold up on you when you don't want it to. So let me show you again how this works on the inside here. Here's the lock. The lock back is locked. Now this what you're sliding over here is actually in the back here, and I'm going to move it. I'm coming close. I'm going to move it to show you here. Here's when I switch it over, that bar goes right in front of the lock back. Okay, you can see that bar right there towards the end. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but I'll move it again. This is unlocked, and there it is locked. See how it goes right in front of that lock bar in the back. Okay, here's your lock back again. Let me unlock it. Here's your lock back. Okay, this has to push forward to unlock the knife. It can be pushed forward now because the lock's off, but when I switch this switch up, that bar goes in front of it, prevents it from moving forward. Okay, so hopefully that was detailed enough to understand how this LBS system works. And by the way, you get a little card, a little reading on this, on the LBS, and it just gives you a real simple locked and unlocked picture. Okay, so when it's unlocked, it's down, and then when it's up, it's locked. So real simple to figure that out. You know, if you happen to forget when you use a knife, which way is which, you could figure it out because you're not going to be able to close it one way, and when it's down, you will be able to close it. Now, what's cool is that this will also lock the knife closed. Very interesting. You know, it's not going to let the knife open up on you. So, you know, again, if you're fearful of a knife opening in your pocket for some reason, it can lock the knife closed for you, as well as locking it open. So that is the LBS. Now, a slight difference on these is that the newer version has actually a little bit of a longer travel. The button style is a little different as well. But if you can see the difference there, the older version, it was kind of a shorter little distance. The newer version has a longer stretch. And the buttons are different themselves. Let me come in close. First, the older version has kind of some tooling on the button, and the newer version has just a flat kind of stainless button with no tooling in it. And now, actually, since we're close, let's look at the pattern on the grip here. Now, the older version here has the aluminum scales, and the new one has the Zytel, but the pattern cut into them are almost identical. Let me come in nice and close and show you this here. You can see that. It's kind of an interesting pattern. To give you a side view, you can see some of those little waves are raised and then lowered. Nice tight view. Some are kind of raised up, you know, a wave pattern coming up and down. So it gives you some pretty good grip side to side. When you're holding a knife, you're Your pointer fingers kind of grip onto that, keeps it from moving a little bit. It's comfortable. It's definitely unique. Again, Columbia River Knife and Tool with their unique stylings. I like it. It's different. And as I mentioned before, this older version here, just the regular Lake 111 model 7255 has the brass liners. Now, brass does tarnish easily, so you want to maintain this knife a little bit more. Just some light oiling. You don't have to go crazy or anything. Just every now and then wipe it down with some oil to prevent the tarnishing. Unless, of course, you like that antique brass look. That could be something you do like. So then you just leave it. Naturally, it'll get that look on there. But like I said, using brass, and I guess I would consider this a modern style folding knife. It's kind of unique. You just don't see it. You see a lot of titanium. You see a lot of aluminum. As you can see here, for the scales are aluminum. But you just don't see brass very often at all. It's a very soft steel, but it works in this application beautifully. And again, just gives you the kind of uniqueness, which is what I like about this knife quite a bit. Now you can see there's some cutouts in the back of the liners to give you a design here, which is, I think it looks really cool. Something different. Now the newer version has Zytel scales. Again, that same exact wavy pattern in there for grip, only it's done in Zytel as opposed to the aluminum in the original version. And that's why this is the model 7255Z. Z obviously just stands for Zytel. And instead of using brass, they have just a regular stainless steel in here for the liners. And mechanism works exactly the same way. As I mentioned, down for unlocked, and of course up for locked. So I can't unlock that blade. Pocket clips on these are decent. They're not too tight, they're not too loose. Both clips are identical in the way they look. However, the older version on the right here has some regular old Phillips head. I'll show you that real quick. So real simple Phillips head screws for the pocket clip, as the newer version, let's get in there close, the newer version has some Torx bits. Now what's kind of unique here is that both the newer version, you can see there's Torx body screws as well, and the older version actually has, I believe, Torx body screws too. Yeah, you can see right there. So it's kind of, it's strange that they use the Torx screws for both bodies, to take the knife apart. However, the older version, they went with Phillips head screws for the clip. I guess they figured most users won't take the knife apart to clean it or anything like that, but they might take the clip off if they decide they don't want it. So they figured they'd just give them some simple Phillips head screws. But the newer version, it's all Torx. I guess just to make it easy, and you don't have to worry about getting different kinds of screws. Both of these do have lanyard holes. You can see the difference. The older version has this different styling on here for the lanyard holes. The newer one has kind of just a hollow rivet type style. So you can add lanyards to either one of these if you wanted. Personally, for a medium-sized knife like this, if I added a lanyard, it would more than likely be for decoration. It wouldn't be a functional lanyard. Specifically because both of these knives, the pocket clips are removable, as I mentioned. However, they're not swappable or reversible. You're stuck with a right side carry, tip down styling here. You can take them off, but the whole idea behind the lanyard hole for me, it's just personal preference, is that if I'm carrying a tip up, I can have the lanyard hanging in my pocket, so I can just grab the knife, pull the knife out. It'd be more like this, but you kind of get the point here. If you're carrying a tip down and you have a lanyard for function, it's in your pocket. It's not really, it kind of loses its functionality when it's deep in your pocket. But you can put a nice decorative lanyard on here if that's what you like. And also, as I showed before, I don't have a full grip of my pinky here, so if I wanted to, I could choke down on the knife a little bit, throw kind of a decorative lanyard on there, and that'll give my pinky something to hold on to. Okay, because it feels more natural in this grip here with my size hands. Okay, you see my finger goes right underneath that, a little bit of a choil right there. It's not truly a choil, but it flares out here, so it feels real comfortable, nestled right up in there like that. And then, of course, my three fingers fit better with my pinky on the bottom, as opposed to trying to squeeze them up. If I squeeze them in here, you can see there's a kind of it's almost like a canoe pattern is what I call it. You see how it flares up on the ends on both sides. What that does is it gives you a shorter distance here, okay, to put your fingers. So for some people, it's going to feel fantastic to have all four fingers in that space. However, if you have a little bit larger hands, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, so you're going to tend to choke down on the knife, okay, to use it. These knives do not have jimping at all. I don't really see it as a problem, though. I think a lot of people go a little bit too much into jimping, and it's always a big topic. Some people don't like knives if they don't have it. I don't find it necessary. Most cutting that I do, I use a natural grip with my thumb on the side, especially if I'm doing some kind of push cuts like this. I don't use my thumb like this a whole lot when cutting. If I want some some detailed work or fine cutting, I'll put my pointer finger across. At that point, jimping on the bottom or the base of the spine here is not all that functional for me. So if I need to get in close with something or kind of chisel something out a little bit, that's how generally I'll hold the knife. I guess maybe more in some more tactical situations you might want some jimping down here, but generally I would say everyday tasks for the average person, it's not completely necessary. Like I said, some people just get a little bit too fixated on having good traction right there for your thumb. I mean, if you're holding a knife like this all the time, maybe an issue for you, but for me, I find you have more control and actually more stability on the handle by bringing your thumb on the side to do your cutting, okay? And if you want fine work, again, you can kind of change your grip like this. But, whatever floats your boat. If you like your thumb up here, then yeah, I guess that would be something you'd be interested in. Really good traction for your thumb. But both these knives, again, by design, they just do not have the jimping there. And I guess it wasn't called for by when Ron Lake designed this knife. If you wanted it on there, he would have put it on there. But these are pretty classy knives. You can get away with carrying this for a nice Sunday knife to go to church or something. It's not. I wouldn't say it's overly threatening or anything like that. It's a nice little work knife, especially the brass. You get that gold tinge in there, especially on a nice sunny day. It's just a classy looking knife in my opinion. And both versions are good. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. It's just preference, whatever you happen to like. You want a little bit of a lighter knife, and you don't want to worry about that brass tarnishing. You might as well go with the Zytel. If you're kind of an old school knife collector or user, and you've been using knives with brass since the 70s and 80s and so forth, maybe you might like this design. Again, it's a little bit more unique. So I actually prefer this one over the newer version for that reason. But both knives will function the same for you. Same blade steel, it's basically the same blade shape and style. Let's talk a little bit about price. Both of these knives, like most of Columbia River Knife and Tool stuff, is extremely affordable. I get a lot of questions recently, like, why are you showing so many CRKT knives? I love knives across the board. I don't have a specific company that I prefer. However, I happen to be getting more Columbia River Knife and Tool knives because they are more affordable. And with the economy the way it is, affordability is a big bonus for a lot of people. But anyway, price here, the original version in the aluminum and the brass was $49.99. That's retail. You could find these for about 30 bucks. I would definitely look around for them. Do your comparison shopping online. The more you look, the more variety of places you check out, the better prices you're going to find. And of course, get a better deal. So about 30 bucks for this, the older version. The newer version, being Zytel, is a little bit cheaper to make, I guess, than using the aluminum on there. So the retail on these are 30. However, you can find these for about 20 bucks. So you're looking at a $20 knife for the new version and a $30 knife for the old version. So definitely some good deals here. If you happen to like lockback knives and you really like the security of a strong lockback, well, you have a strong lockback here. If that wasn't enough, pop that LBS lock up, and it's definitely a very secure knife. There's extremely little chance, if not any chance at all, of that closing on you. So you have a lot of security with these models. So there they are, the Lake Model 111s. The bottom is the newer version, 7255Z, and then on top the aluminum and brass original Model 7255. Fantastic knives for a very affordable price. I thank you guys for watching as always, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.